Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into Key Time Sports. It's Key Time coming back to talk about college football playoff round one games. And as we kick off tonight with the Indiana Hoosiers and Notre Dame Fighting Irish, this is going to be a great weekend in college football and in the NFL. And I just gave y'all my prediction for the NFL yesterday. Now I'm giving y'all my predictions for the college football playoff, which kicks off tonight. Now, the first game that I'm going to get into is the Indiana Hoosiers and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, the Indiana Hoosiers, they are a team. They are a team that has really had one of their greatest season in school history. They are led by Curtis Rourke. Their leading rusher is Justice Ellison. Their leader in receiving yards, Elijah Starrett. Their leading tackler, Aiden Fisher, and their leader in interceptions, Amari Farrell. Now, you see where they have a three quarterback system because most of the time their quarterbacks have been injured, so they have a three quarterback system. You see all of their stats throughout this season. Their rushing attack, their rushing attack has eclipsed over 2,000 yards behind anybody that has ran the ball. Now they have over 2,000 yards in the rushing game. Wide receivers led by Elijah Sherrod, Omari Cooper Jr., Miles Price, Keyshawn Williams, and many, many more wide receivers and tight ends. And then they have a kicker, he is one of the most efficient kickers in college football, Nicholas Ragrick. And here is that elite, well, not so much as elite, but Indiana, I'm going to tell you, throughout the season, they've won all of the games that they have won. It has been by at least two touchdowns or more, with the exception of that Michigan game. Now, the Michigan game, they won by 5 points. Now, here is their defense. And as far as solo tackles on defense, they have 768 solo tackles as a defensive unit. Now, let's shift on over to their offensive statistics. Now, their offensive statistics has been up and down all season. We all know that they didn't play great against the Ohio State Buckeyes, but season season stats, they average 43 points per game. Third down offensive efficiency is 48%, which is not great at all. Fourth down offensive efficiency is 57%. Now, Indiana has benefited from, I'm going to say, a not so much a challenging schedule, but yes, an easy schedule. They didn't have many. They didn't have many teams that challenged them throughout the season. I mean, and when they went up against Ohio State gave them a run for their money and pretty much dominated them in week 11. Now, let's see what they can do on tonight's big stage in the college football playoff. Now, the offense for the Hoosiers is great. Now we're going to shift over to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish had a little bit of a slip up in week 2 against Northern Illinois University, but ever since then, they have been on a tear. You have Riley Leonard throwing over 2,000 yards, and then you have their leading running back, Jeremiah Love, almost cracking over 1,000 yards. So when you see the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, excuse me for a minute, when you see the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, their statistics, their running backs and their wide receivers and tight ends, you can see that they had that, I call that a speed bump against Northern Illinois. Nobody expected them to lose versus Northern Illinois. They were a 4.5 touchdown favorite. Everybody knows that. But now they've gotten back to the blueprint. They've gotten down in the trenches. And I'm going to tell you, against Army, they dominated. Against Navy, they dominated. Against Tulane a couple weeks ago, they dominated. And I expect them to dominate in this game. So here is the quarterbacks. Here's the running backs and the wide receivers and tight ends. Now the tight ends for Notre Dame, they've been on a tear. I'm going to give y'all a few seconds to read all of these statistics because you can see that everybody who has caught a pass for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, they've had at least 20 yards off of it, with the exception of some, they don't get much playing time. But everybody in the top half of this chart right here, they have averaged over 20 yards a game in every game that they have played. Now you see the wide receivers and tight ends. You see they have a 3-kicker system. All of their kickers for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish hasn't missed a kick all season. Now that is accurate as accurate can get. Notre Dame, when it comes to their defense, now the defense, they were slacking a little bit during that Northern Illinois game. I keep going back to that because we saw so many missed tackles in that Notre Dame, in that Northern Illinois game. But now it's hard to run on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And pretty much when you see their defensive lineup, look at all these players that got at least 15 tackles. Jack Kasher, Jay Bowden, Xavier Watts, Jaden Osbury, Jalen Sneed, Aiden Schifler, Leonard Moore, Riley Mills, Donovan Heiser, Ron Hurd, Christian Gray, Jordan Clark, Jr., Takamalia, Taluha Maka, Howard Cross III, Benjamin Morris, and the list just goes on and on. Now, tonight, I expect all of these players to dominate in some way, shape, or form. For solo tackles, for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, they have 765 solo tackles as a defensive unit. Now let's shift over to their offensive statistics. Now, offensive statistics are pretty much the same as the Indiana Hoosiers. Notre Dame has averaged 40 points per game. Third down efficiency is 49. Third down offensive efficiency is 37%. Okay. Fourth down offensive efficiency is 76%, which is one of the best in college football. So, Indiana, they need to be on standby because if Notre Dame gets in a third and short situation, I would not be surprised if they roll the dice and go for it on fourth down and get it because of this consistency of the conversion rate of 76%. So now, Notre Dame is a 7-point favorite in this game. Indiana, we know that this is the very first time that they have been in the championship conversation. Like I said, Indiana has always been a basketball school, so it's weird for me to talk about the Hoosiers this late in the college football season. So at the start of the season, nobody penciled Indiana to be remotely close to where they are now. But we expected Notre Dame to be in this situation, and we expected Notre Dame to win their first playoff game in the college football playoff. And I'm going with Notre Dame tonight because over the last couple of games, they have dominated both teams, Tulane and Army. The point differential is just astonishing, whatever you want to call it. Notre Dame scored 35 points versus Tulane. Against Army, they scored 42. So They in the past two games, their point differential is 89 to 28. That's a blowout there. The last two games, they've blown out their competition. Now they might blow out Indiana because the quarterback for Indiana, he doesn't know what to do. If the pressure, if his pocket starts collapsing on him, he starts to get antsy, and then he just tries to throw the ball away, or worse, throw an interception. The Indiana quarterback cannot function with a crowded pocket. He can't, because he is going to run into a sack or throw an interception. And I see exactly that happening tonight. So I got Notre Dame winning this game by a touchdown. And make no mistake about it, this will be a close game. The only way it doesn't be a close game is if the Indiana Hoosiers start turning the ball over like crazy. So the game I am going to cover is next game I'm going to cover is the SMU Mustangs versus the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now, I'm gonna throw out some puns because SMU they last name is Mustangs. So the Mustangs are going to ride into Penn State and possibly get a win. But first off, I'm going to give you the stats of everybody that is on their roster because the SMU Mustangs, they are a good offensive team. And like I've been saying, Penn State, I got something to say about James Franklin because I was looking at a soundbite that he did last night. And it's really, he said that he focused on SMU, but in big games, his record hasn't shown that. So now, too, the SMU Mustangs player stats. So SMU Mustangs are led by Kevin Jennings, Brashard Smith, their leader, Roderick Daniels Jr., leader in tackles, Kobe Wilson, and their leader in interceptions, Jonathan McGill. Now, they have been led by a three quarterback system. You see their stats. Kevin Jennings is thrown for over 3,000 yards. Congratulations to him. Now, their running backs for the SMU Mustangs, running backs, tight ends, just running backs and wide receivers in this chart right here. Here are their wide receivers and tight ends. All of their tight ends have had a day. The top four tight ends that you see on this chart, they have averaged throughout their games, they have averaged 20 yards a reception. There is some that they shaved off a few yards from, but SMU's offense, I've reported on them a couple of times this season. I reported on them in the ACC championship game. This team offense is built to wear defenses out. Now, I don't think they'll be able to wear Penn State's defense out because this is the first time that either of these two teams have been on this stage. Now, as far as for the Mustangs kickers, they have a two-kicker system. Their defense, now this defense right here has came on strong within the last month. Okay, within the last month. Now, they started off cold against Clemson. Now, Clemson will be Clemson. SMU, you just entered the ACC this calendar year, back in January. So you just entered, you haven't even been in for a good 12 months, and you already into the college football playoff. Congratulations to the SMU Mustangs. So now, their defensive lineup, as far as solo tackles, they have 934 solo tackles. This defense is a tackling machine. This defense is a tackling machine. And when it comes to Penn State, Penn State, they got me in a bind because I want to go with Penn State, but James Franklin's record against top 10 teams, and with this being his first time on the college football playoff stage, one thing that I'm going to tell y'all, I'm going to give y'all a record. This is James Franklin's record against top 10 teams or against teams that are in the college football playoff. 3-25. That is his record in the college football playoff. Excuse me, against Big Ten, in big time games. That is his record, and his. I'm going to show you all his team's statistics and who they are led by. We all know that Penn State Nittany Lions are led by Drew Aller. The top leader in rushing yards for the Nittany Lions are Nicholas Singleton. The top receiver is tight end Tyler Warren. The top leader in tackles is Jalen Reed. The top leader in interceptions is also Jalen Reed with 3. So the Penn State Nittany Lions have a 2-quarterback system. You see their 2-quarterback system. You see their running backs. Their running backs, they've had over 2,000 yards. They've cracked their rushing attack unit has cracked over 2,000 yards this season. The wide receivers and tight ends, they've had a year two because the wide receiver core with the Penn State Nittany Lions has cracked over 3,000 yards. They have a 2-kicker system, the Nittany Lions do, and like I said, they have one of the most efficient kickers. He's only missed 1 field goal throughout the entirety of this season. So he's one of the most accurate kickers. Here is that defensive lineup I was talking about earlier in the show when it comes to the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now you see all of their statistics on the defensive side of the ball for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now, Penn State Nittany Lions defense is facing a dynamic offense like the SMU Mustangs in tomorrow's game at 12 o'clock, 12 noon that they are playing. And when you see sometimes the Penn State Nittany Lions defense has had defensive lapses. We knew they wasn't going to beat Oregon. Oregon is a very explosive offense. I will get into Oregon later on in the playoff, but as of right now, Penn State, as far as solo tackles, they have 781 solo tackles as a defensive lineup. Now let's see Penn State throughout the season. They have averaged 5 touchdowns, 35 points. Third down efficiency is 47%. Fourth down offensive efficiency is 67%. So the same as some of these teams that I've mentioned throughout the show, they've had the same conversion percentage rate on fourth down. So let's get to my prediction. This game, I'm going to pick Penn State. But like I said, when it comes to Penn State, I'm not too confident in Penn State. But like I said, both of these teams, they don't have any experience factor in this game. So I expect both teams to be a little antsy in tomorrow's game. But I expect Penn State, since they have the better defense, to come up with more stops than SMU's defense. So I have the Penn State Nittany Lions winning this game. This game is going to be close. I wouldn't be surprised if it's an offensive shootout. But Penn State is going to win this game. If you are a betting man, Please bet cautiously on this game. Please bet cautiously. And also bet cautiously on every other game, because when it comes to these games, you don't know what to expect. This is not a regular season game where the team that they are facing has a 8-9 game lead on everybody. This is a playoff game. Winner take all. Loser goes home. Winner goes on to the next round. So I got the Penn State Nittany Lions winning this game. And that is all I have for the SMU Mustangs Penn State game. The next game I'm going to cover is the Clemson Tigers and the Texas Longhorns. Now, Clemson, Clemson, they just happy to be here. I got Clemson losing this game. But from what Clemson did from the first game of the season, getting blasted by Georgia, to making it all the way here, it's a good, successful season. But you're not going to beat a team like Texas. K Cubney, passed over 3,000 yards. Phil Maffa, leading rusher for the Tigers. Antonio Williamson, leading receiver for the Clemson Tigers. Leader in tackles, Bernard Carter, leader in tackles for the Tigers, and leader in interceptions for the Clemson Tigers, Khalil Burns. Now they have a three quarterback. They have a three quarterback system with Clemson. Here is their running backs, wide receivers that also run the ball. They have a couple package plays for their wide receivers. They have a wide receiver core and tight end core has pretty much brought home the bacon this year. They have over 3,000 yards. And here is their two kicker system. Now, both kickers for the Clemson Tigers have missed only one kick this year, so they are still one of the most accurate kickers. Here is the Clemson Tigers defense. Now, Clemson Tigers defense has been a little iffy at times throughout this season. I don't have to go down a list because everybody who has watched Clemson Tigers football know what I'm talking about. Against subpar competition, they have had trouble, the defense, getting off the field on third down. Now, when it comes to the Texas Longhorns offense, that is a dynamic offense that Clemson is going to have to neutralize and contain, but I don't think that they will be able to contain them. As far as the Clemson Tigers defense, as far as a unit, 815 solo tackles as a defensive unit. Now, as far as their offense concerned, their offense statistics, Clemson has averaged 37 points per game throughout the season. Third down offensive efficiency is 45%, one of the worst in college football. Fourth down offensive efficiency is 61%, which is, like I just said, decent, but one of the worst in football. Now we know what Clemson has on the ball. Now let's look at what them big old Texas Longhorns have on the offensive side of the ball. Now, the Texas Longhorns, they have had a Quinn Ewers times. Arch Manning has came into the fold. We see with Quinn Ewers, he's thrown for over 2,665 yards. Arch Manning, he's thrown for almost 1,000 yards. Now we see with their rushing attack, and their wide receivers and tight ends. They have one of the most efficient kickers in college football in Burt Auburn. He's 55 for 55 in field goal kicking. And the Texas Longhorns defense. What I'm going to say is the Texas Longhorns defense has improved from that Georgia loss early in the season, not the SEC championship game. Now we look at the Texas Longhorns defensive lineup. Their defensive lineup. Do you see this? Their defensive lineup is basically consistent, even when it comes to all of what they have done throughout the year. Solo tackles. They got 825 solo tackles as a defensive unit. Now let's look over to statistics. Texas Longhorns, they average 35 points per game. Third down efficiency is 42%. Fourth down offensive efficiency is 58%. I always say in a game like this where a team is favored, now the Texas Longhorns, they are favored in this game, but we do not need a blowout in this game. Clemson, please show up and give yourself a good fight, because I've been saying all season that it will not be a blowout in the college football playoff. But this game right here, Clemson and Texas, is destined to be a blowout if whatever offense shows up for Clemson. Now, Clemson, their offense has been putrid in some games, and they have been astounding in other games. So now let's see what the Texas Longhorns defense is going to do to the Clemson Tigers. Now, we already know that as far as their motivational speaker for the Texas Longhorns is Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey gonna be there. A lot of movie stars are gonna be right there in the Texas Longhorn Stadium. And I got the big Texas Longhorns winning this game. Clemson, you've had a good season, but Dabo Swinney, it's time for you to take a back seat. Take a back seat in the ACC and let somebody else take the crown and the trophy. Because out of the last 10 years, Clemson has won 8 ACC championships. Throughout that time, Clemson has been the dominating factor in the ACC. And even this year, they was lucky to win the ACC because Miami Hurricanes, they fumbled the ball. They were supposed to be in this situation. But Syracuse won over Miami, and that's why we have this game right here. So Texas Longhorns, I see them winning this game. I'm going to be generous to you Clemson Tiger fans. I'm going to say y'all lose by 2 touchdowns because it's the holidays, and I know that I said that all of these games would not end up in blowouts. So, Clemson, you are going to lose this game. And to the journalists that said that Clemson would win the college football playoff, you've lost your damn mind. There are stronger teams than Clemson in the college football playoff right now. I can name a few off the top of my head. Oregon, UGA, Notre Dame. Those are the 3 that I can name off the top of my head. But some journalists, they try and make a name for themselves with their outlandish takes. But in the field of journalism, we all have a level of intelligence and a level of realization that we have to give our audiences. And that is why all you Clemson Tiger fans, please, just please, don't get the big head just because somebody said that you all have a chance at making a national championship. We all know that you're not going to make the national championship. Take it from me, Keytown Sports, that knows his football, that has been watching football from the age of 3 up until now. I know every criteria that comes with college football, that comes with NFL football, that even comes with college basketball and NBA basketball. I know my sports, so please have confidence in what I say because I have never led y'all wrong in my 2 years of doing this show. In my 2 years of doing this show, I've never led y'all wrong. So now let's fast forward to the Tennessee Volunteers and Ohio State Buckeyes, because this is the game that everybody has circled on their calendar for Saturday. Now, the Tennessee Volunteers, this is the best team that you have had since 1998. And everybody knows who the quarterback was in 1998. You won the national championship there. Come on, Tennessee Volunteer fans. Pat yourself on the back for getting into the college football playoff. You wanted to get in there, now you done got in there. And I've been hearing over the last couple of days that Tennessee Volunteer fans, they gonna have a hostile takeover in the big house, Ohio State. I don't think that they're gonna have a hostile takeover and it's gonna be 75% volunteer fans. I just don't see that happening. I just don't see that happening. So Tennessee Volunteers has been led throughout the season by Nico Emiliava. Now they're running backs for the Volunteers, leader in rushing yards for the Tennessee Volunteers, Dylan Sampson. Leader in receiving yards, Deontay Thornton Jr. Leader in tackles, Aaron Carter. Interceptions, German McCoy. Now, they have a 4 quarterback system that the Volunteers have played throughout this season. Now, the running backs. Here are the running backs. Here are the wide receivers. Hold on. I'm gonna let y'all have a few seconds to look at this chart, because this chart has been up and down all day when it comes to the Tennessee Volunteers. You see their wide receivers, their running backs. You see their wide receivers and tight ends. You see their kicker. You see their defense. Now, their defense has been subpar throughout this season, but the top 4 guys that are on this list, they have been consistent when it comes to tackles. Now, when you look on down the list, you see where it starts to fall off a little bit as far as total tackles concerned. Now, when you get all the way down to the bottom, 763 solo tackles as a defense. Congratulations to the Tennessee Titans, because they haven't been a good tackling team all season. They haven't been. Now, when it comes to offense, some games sputtered, and then other games they put up 34, 35 to 40 points. Now, throughout the season, the Tennessee Volunteers have averaged 37 points per game. Third down efficiency is 48%. Fourth down efficiency is 62%. Both of those percentages are average in college football. So now we know what we see with the Tennessee Volunteers offense. Now, and we know what we see with the Tennessee Volunteers offense and defense. Now let's shift over to the Ohio State guys, where they are going to be playing in Ohio State come Saturday afternoon, which is tomorrow. So we know that the Ohio State Buckeyes are led by Will Howard. Their leading running back is Quishon Judkins. Their leading wide receiver is Jeremiah Smith. Their leader in tackles is Sonny Styles. Their leader in interceptions is Denzel Burke. Now, Ohio State Buckeyes 3-quarterback system. Here are their running backs for the Buckeyes. Here are their wide receivers and tight ends. Here is their kicker. And here is that almighty Ohio State Buckeyes defense that everybody has been raving about throughout this season. This is the best defensive lineup money can buy. Ohio State in the offseason put $20 million into this defensive lineup. Now it's time for them to produce the big bucks in this game. Now, can they do that on the offensive side of the ball? it is very, very skeptical because Will Howard sometimes he has been on a streak where he has been sputtering. Excuse me. Now, as far as the Ohio State Buckeyes defensive lineup in total, 731 solo tackles throughout this season. Now, for the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Tennessee Volunteers have something in common. Both offenses average the exact same amount of points. So this game is going to be very intriguing. And now Ohio State has averaged 37 points throughout this season. Ohio State's third down offensive percentage is 42%, one of the worst in college football. Fourth down offensive efficiency, 69%, one of the worst. Well, excuse me, it is average. So this is average. So now Tennessee or the Ohio State Buckeyes. I got the Ohio State Buckeyes in this game because the Tennessee Volunteers, they were lucky to get here. At the start of the season, they were projected to be fifth or sixth out of the playoff. They were supposed to be out of the playoff. And for that, those are my predictions for all of the college football playoff round one games. Now I'm going to give you what games will be broadcasted on what network. So, first game tonight, Notre Dame and Indiana will be broadcast on ABC/ESPN. The second game, tomorrow's game, SMU versus Penn State, will be broadcast on TNT. The third game, Clemson versus Texas, will be broadcast on TNT at 4 o'clock. So that Clemson versus Texas game will be broadcast on TNT at 4 o'clock. The first game tomorrow, SMU versus Penn State, will be broadcast at noon Eastern Standard Time on TNT. The last game of the day, tomorrow night, Tennessee and Ohio State will be broadcast at 8 p.m. on ESPN. And with that, those are the television, that is the television schedule and my prediction to the first round of the college football playoffs. So please place your bets accordingly. Please don't put all your money on one game because there is a lot of money to be spread around this time of year. You have Christmas just around the corner. You got New Year's around the corner. I hear there are so many people giving out their New Year's resolutions, but there is a lot of people that don't follow through on their resolutions. So now, what person are you going to be? Are you going to be a person that is unsure of themselves when it comes to betting on sports? Or do you think that this is a sure thing when it comes to betting on these championship playoff games in college? No matter what, we are going to have a very entertaining weekend between college football and the NFL. And with that, those are my reactions. Those are my predictions to the college football playoff games round one. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell to get notified of all of my reaction videos, shows, and other content. And remember one last thing, the key is always on time. Okay,